UFC 246 McGregor versus Cerrone is just wrapped up, and I'll be honest with you guys, it was a good night of fights. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the night of fights, and I'm one of the guys who judged the book by its cover and thought that we were all in for a giant shit sandwich here. I'll be honest with you. I looked at the card and I was not best pleased. I wasn't licking my lips to go ahead and watch this fight card. But it was an amazing card of fights. A lot of upsets, a lot of impressive finishes. I enjoyed it, and obviously the main event went smoothly, but we'll get to that in a second. We're going to start with the early prelims. We're going to end with the main event, giving our reaction and breakdown to every single fight, starting with Sabina Mazo versus JJ Aldridge. Sabina Mazo 8-1 at flyweight. Pretty fucking mediocre fight, to be honest with you. She beat JJ Aldridge by a narrow margin. Got the job done, I guess. Sabina Mazo, 8-1. I really don't care about this fight, but let's move on. Let's put her against another women's flyweight. Who knows? That's 2 in a row for Sabina Mazo, and she has a respectable record. So we'll see where things go from there. Moving on. Alexa Kamur versus Justin Leday. I'll be honest with you. I thought Alexa Kamur was going to come out here and smoke Justin Leday in the first round. I was very wrong. Alexa Kamur is not a big light heavyweight as I thought he was. And that's very clear here, because he looked very small in that octagon today next to Justin Leday. Or Justin Leday is just a massive giant. Who knows? But Alexa Kamur, definitely, I was expecting him to make very short work of Justin Leday. He had a bit of a tough time, which can tell me that maybe we don't want to push him too fast. We don't want to see him versus Misha Serkinov next weekend. Bring this guy along a little bit. He's 6-0. He's an undefeated guy. He trains at a good camp with Stipe Miocic. Which, who can ask for a better training partner than a heavyweight champion of the world when you're a light heavyweight facing bigger guys? It makes sense to me. Alexa Kamur, 6-0. Let's see if we can improve that record a little bit before we start throwing him to the lions. And for Justin Leday, listen, cut him from the UFC. And that's final. I want him cut from the UFC. And I know people are going to call me harsh here, but the reality of the situation is he's unranked and he's been 0-3 in his last 3 fights. That's a 3-fight loss streak. We need standards. We need to cut him from the UFC. I know there's going to be a few, 1 or 2, maybe Justin Leday fans in the world that are going to get angry at me about that. But to be honest with you, I'm sick of letting these guys stick around. He shouldn't have been here in the first place. He's now 0-3 in his last 3 fights. Let's get rid of him and send him back to Bellator. And that's what should happen. Moving on. Alexa Kamur, I don't know what I want to see from him next. But either way, let's bring him along slowly, because he really should have made shorter work of Justin Leday. Moving forward, prelims. Here's where things get a little bit more interesting. Drew Dober versus Nasrat Haqparast. Everyone was going with Nasrat. I went with Nasrat Haqparast, I'll be honest with you guys. But I did say that if there was a juicy underdog on the card, Drew Dober was a very good underdog. I did say that. I just didn't follow through with my prediction on him. Nasrat was looking very good in the first minute of this fight. He threw some nice little combinations. You know, looking very good, very clean on the feet, very quick, very switched on in the early part of the round. Drew Dober looked like he had to get sort of acclimatized to being in the cage a little bit. And I think some of the combinations from Nasrat Haqparast really woke up Drew Dober and got his timing down on point. But really what it comes down to here, first of all, amazing win for Drew Dober. I'm not taking anything away from him. Amazing first round KO. But it was more the mistake of Nasrat Haqparast. But credit to Dober for capitalizing on the mistake, because Nasrat was throwing good combinations, and then out of nowhere he throws a square on with Drew Dober, empty leg kick out of nowhere, expecting that Drew Dober's just going to sit there in punching range and not throw anything back. There was no turnover of the hips, there was no circling out with the leg kick. It was just like, I'm just going to throw this in punching range of you, and you're not going to do anything back. And Drew Dober was like, oh yes I am, and threw a check hook right down the middle, or whatever it was. It was a big hook right down the middle. KO'd Nasrat Haqparast in the first round. That's 2 first round KOs for Drew Dober in a row. I feel like his next fight should be against a higher ranked guy, coming off a win, in Arman Tsarukyan. And that can go on the main event of any fight, or not the main event, the main card of any fight night. Sign me up, or again, the prelims of any pay-per-view. Drew Dober's earned that right to be placed in those positions on the card. I don't want to see Drew Dober on the prelims ever again of a fight night. Those days are gone. He's making some noise. He's getting big KOs. I mean, he's the biggest Chad I've ever seen in my life. That's a Chad if I've ever seen one. His name is not Drew. I refuse to believe it. His name is Chad. 100%. And I think that next up, he needs to be given a bit of a spotlight on the main card of a fight night in a decent position versus Arman Tsarukyan, another lightweight coming off a win that's above him in the rankings. Tim Elliott versus Askar Askarov. I picked Askarov to win. I was correct. I'm glad I was correct because I love being correct. Good job. Close fight. Tim Elliott was kind of talking and trying to be the tough guy and walking Askar down and talking shit to him and telling him to hit him. It's all good and well telling someone to hit you, but you've got to win. You know, you can't just be losing and be like, yeah, punch me, because then you just look like a retard, Tim Elliott. And I knew Askar Askarov was going to win, and he got the job done. Good job, Askar Askarov. Remains undefeated. Obviously, he had that close, controversial draw with Brandon Moreno not too long ago. I think the next best fight for him would be against Kai Kara-France if he beats Tyson Nam in Auckland. Kara-France versus Askarov sounds amazing to me. Similar places in the rankings. Let's move on. Great performance from Askarov. Andre Fili versus Sadiq Yusuff. There's a lot to take away from this one. A lot to take away. I knew this was going to be close. I thought that Andre Fili would have edged it out. I really did. I was picking him. He was an underdog. I didn't think he should have been an underdog. I actually think that Sadiq Yusuff should have been the underdog here. But Andre Fili got really fucked again. It was a close fight. It could have gone either way. It went to Sadiq Yusuff. I understand why the fight went to Sadiq Yusuff. And it was because in the first round, I believe at the end of the round, he did his top control and damage, which really swayed the judges' opinions in that first round and would have stolen him that round. If Sadiq Yusuff didn't get that takedown at the end and land those couple of shots, he wouldn't have won the round and it would have gone to Andre Fili. So a very, very razor-close fight. And Yusuff, I'll be honest with you guys, if you think this guy's going to be a title challenger, he's got to make some improvements. So I wouldn't mind seeing him take a little bit of time off, have a little bit of time to evolve. He's still young in the game. Let's not throw him to the wolves right away. And we'll see what happens. But as far as facing the top contenders go, we'll give it some time. Because you need to be beating Andre Fili a little bit more dominantly, like by a close split decision. Now, you need to be doing it better than a close split decision against Andre Fili, if I'm honest with you. So Sadiq Yusuff, very good performance. Very good job. We realised that maybe his wrestling isn't as bad as we thought it was because he's a very massive guy for the division of featherweight, and that's what I realised straight away. I mean, Jesus Christ. The guy is huge. I thought Andre Fili was going to be like really tall next to him. Really tall, really rangy. Saw it at the weigh-ins. Sadiq Yusuff is a massive guy. Cuts a lot of weight and doesn't seem to be affected that much by the repercussions of cutting so much weight, which I think he actually is. In the third round, looked very tired. We just got to take some things away from Sadiq Yusuff's game here. We got to learn about Sadiq Yusuff because we've been shown that there are some problems. But he did get the job done, which is good for the UFC because now we've got another featherweight contender. Roxanne Modafferi versus Macy Barber. Interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. I was going to pick Roxanne Modafferi this entire time. I've been saying that Roxanne Modafferi is going to win this entire time. The week before the fight, I changed my mind to Macy Barber. And I said I'm changing my mind to Macy Barber to break the curse of me changing my mind and the person who I originally picked going on to win. That happens to me every time. Every time I change my mind, the person who I changed from wins the fight. And the person who I changed to loses. Which is what happened. I should have stuck with Roxanne Modafferi. She was a great wrestler. She's a large woman for that weight class. She's very muscle bound and cuts a lot of weight. This is a huge L for the UFC, who were hoping that Macy Barber was going to build some hype for the flyweight division. And she lost. Pulled her ACL in the second round, I believe, after a jab. Tough night out. Really tough night out. Freak accident. Couldn't get back up. But Roxanne Modafferi won the first round anyway. So I don't know how much you can really blame on the fucking knee injury, to be honest with you. But either way, Macy Barber did quite well. She survived for 3 rounds, which was good, with 1 leg. I think that's a pretty impressive performance. But right now, Macy Barber, go back to the drawing board. Maybe don't train around Ben Askren so much if you want to figure out how to win in the UFC. But either way, good performance from Macy Barber. She'll rally. She'll come back towards the end of the year. And I'm sure she'll put on a good performance against some other tin can. But right now, Roxanne Modafferi apparently is really good at laying on people. So maybe Macy Barber should have respected it a little bit more. But a good performance from both women. I really don't care where Roxanne Modafferi goes from here. There's no hype behind it. But Macy Barber's probably going to fight another low-ranked contender. Maybe if Paige Van Zandt loses her next fight to Amanda Ribas, we can maybe get Macy Barber versus Paige Van Zandt. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Moving to the main card, which is actually less interesting than the prelims. But this one's pretty interesting. Anthony Pettis versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. Great fight. Great fight from both gentlemen while it lasted. It was decent. Pettis was landing some good check hooks on his way back. Some decent kicks as well. But again, Pettis just seems he's too okay to be taken down sometimes. And he's too non-urgent in positions. Like, I think he's so confident in his jiu-jitsu because I don't think Anthony Pettis has ever been submitted before. I think he's so confident in his jiu-jitsu that he's just like, take my back, it's fine. But you can't do that. You can't just let someone take your back like that. And I don't think he let Carlos Diego Ferreira take his back. But he was just okay that Ferreira had it. There was no panic. There was no rush. There was no, oh fuck, I've got to get out of this. There was just like, oh, you have my back, I'll just defend from here for a little bit. And then all of a sudden the choke's in and the fight's over. Good performance from Carlos Diego Ferreira. That's 6 in a row. I predicted him to beat Anthony Pettis. So I'm glad that I got that prediction correct. A lot of people were telling me I was wrong. But Carlos Diego Ferreira is a beast. 17-2. Let's have him take on a top contender. Perhaps Islam Makhachev, who's now been left out of the whole Kevin Lee situation. Kevin Lee's fighting Oliveira. Maybe Carlos Diego Ferreira versus Islam Makhachev would be good. And if not, maybe Carlos Diego Ferreira versus, say, who knows? Someone else who's coming off a win. Alexander Hernandez. There's another one that he could potentially fight. Moving on. And for Anthony Pettis, rematch with Cerrone. Well, we'll get to that in a second. Brian Kelleher versus Odi Osbourne. Somehow, this was on the main card of a fight. I have no idea how. This should not have even been on the main card of a fight night. And I don't care where the fight night was. It could have been Fight Night Antarctica. This isn't on the fucking main card. I don't know why it was there. I actually do know why it was there. Because Odi Osbourne is an athletic man. And he's young. And he's off the Contender Series. So Dana White is busy sucking his dick and giving him every opportunity they can get. And that's a fact. Brian Kelleher shuts all the hype down. Gets a finish in the first round. Good win from Brian Kelleher. Again, big L for the UFC. A lot of upsets happened tonight that weren't in the UFC's best interest. But we got to roll with the punches. Moving on. Alexei Oleinik versus Maurice Green. Another L for the UFC. Oleinik sticks around. I can picture a good fight for Alexei Oleinik next. And that would be Sergey Pavlovich in Russia. Alexei Oleinik, coming off a big win against Maurice Green. Ranked opponent. Sergey Pavlovich, last win, against Maurice Green. By first round finish. KO. Alexei Oleinik, Sergey Pavlovich in Russia. Make it happen, Dana. Moving on to the co-main event. What a disappointment from Maurice Green. Just a big disappointment. Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington. Holm was stronger than Raquel Pennington, so she was able to hold Pennington against the cage more. Moving to the main event. Jesus Christ. I mean, I just can't... I can't even get hyped behind it. I was more excited for Sadiq Yusuff, Andre Fili than I was for Holly Holm, Raquel Pennington. And I don't think the UFC understands that. I don't think they do. I think they think that we all love Holly Holm and can't wait to see her fight. That's not the truth. I was even a little bit more hyped for Alexa Kamur's debut than Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington. But either way, Holly Holm gets a decision win. I picked Raquel Pennington to win, but whatever. She's now 10-8. Jesus Christ. And then Holly Holm should face the winner of Aspen Ladd versus Juliana Pena. And the winner of that fight should get the title shot. Or, if Holly Holm wants to stay active and not wait for the winner of Aspen Ladd, Juliana Pena, she should maybe take on a girl like Irene Aldana. Sounds good to me. Conor McGregor versus Donald Cerrone. Alright, let's talk about this one. People were saying this was fixed. You're all stupid. You can't fix a head kick landing flush on the chin like that. Please stop talking. Okay, those shoulder shots were very impressive. I did a full reaction video on my channel last night at about 7 AM. Conor McGregor's a beast and he's back in town. And that's all that I saw. Conor McGregor comes in, gets a big win over Donald Cerrone, puts on a show, and gets a finish in the first round. And now we're going to talk about what's next for Conor McGregor. And I'll break that down in a separate video. But Conor McGregor is most definitely back. Stop the talk of fixing fights. Stop all of that. Conor McGregor gets a big dominant performance over Donald Cerrone. At 170. He's hitting that hard. Madness. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Great performance from Conor McGregor. A lot of people were talking shit about the performance, saying it was fixed. But listen, Donald Cerrone could not get back up from that situation. If you watch the sequence where Conor McGregor finishes Donald Cerrone, he throws the head kick, it lands, rocks Donald Cerrone, he's rocked. Then throws a flying knee, smokescreen, comes round the side, smashes Cerrone with a left hand behind the ear, so his equilibrium is completely gone. At this point, Cerrone does not know where he is, and heart is not a question. He didn't know where he was, and a guy like McGregor was punching him in the face over and over and over again on the ground. And that's what happens. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Click that button there. See you later. As I predicted, first round KO. Goodbye.